This review covers the Fink International Transtar CO-4070A. It's a 125 scale kit from AMT number 1291. Now, the International Harvester Transtar was seen hauling loads all over the U.S. in the 60s and 70s, making it an integral part of the transportation industry. And at one time, it was the most widely used tractor in the United States. First released back in the 70s, this new boxing sports an awesome set of Fink graphics. Now, Fink was a character created by the talented Ed Big Daddy Roth, who was a custom car builder and graphics artist. Now, molded in over 250 white, clear, transparent red, and amber pieces with chrome-plated parts, this kit features steerable front wheels, a tilt cab, and optional chrome 10-hole front wheels. It has a Detroit diesel engine and dual chrome stacks with a detailed sleeper. It also includes all new Fink water slide decals and black vinyl Goodyear tires. Paint callouts are available on a spec sheet as well, and when you're done, it's about 11 inches long, 5¼ inches high, and 5 inches wide. Here you see the great new box art. It's very colorful, as well as the new water slide decals that feature the Fink graphics, as well as some other standard graphics. But as you can see, they're very colorful. The register is pretty good, except for some of the tiny small ones, which need a little trimming. But they go on well, and with plenty of water, put them into position, squeeze out any bubbles, and you're good to go. Now, there's quite a few parts in this kit, which makes it more applicable to the intermediate or advanced builder. You see the two large chrome trees here, some of which these pieces will be stripped of chrome in a bleach bath and painted. But the cab parts, and along with the frame and wheel parts here, there's a lot of pieces to put together. We also have a large tree of internal parts as well. Construction for the kit starts with the engine, and as you can see here, it's pretty straightforward. Just make sure all the parts fit flush and go together well. Also remember, the rest of the instructions, including these, are at the end of the review, and you'll need to scrape any paint or chrome plating from parts you wish to glue together. And so here you see the parts for the basic engine block, etc. So go ahead and assemble those and get started on that. And then use the instructions to go ahead and put the transmission and the back end of the engine together until it's finished. Now here's a look at the completed engine. Most of these pieces were painted red, of course, and you got some flat black and on the pulleys, etc., and a medium sheen black for the fan, but for the most part you may have to take some of that chrome off to paint the engine completely. Here you see the parts for the frame, and construction of this properly is very critical for alignment and fit of all the pieces. You'll need to lay the frame out and make sure that it's on something flat and that all of the parts are, perpendicular to the sides of the plane of the frame when you add the cross members. Now go ahead and assemble the radiator and support, and all these pieces after you're assembling those will be painted gloss black. After the frame has dried, go ahead and add the radiator subassembly as well as the engine. And look for the mounts and scrape off the paint where you want to glue the parts together, and make sure that it firmly fits flush onto the mounts there to make sure that it's square. Gather up these parts for the front axle and wheel backing assembly, and then we'll go ahead and put those together, and that also will be painted black. Now we can paint and assemble the front wheel and tire assembly, and I used Tester's acrylic gloss purple for the rims there, the outer rims, and I also gave it a coat of clear so that it would keep the paint from peeling in the future. Now the rim halves are simply assembled around the tire, and then the tire will be just beat it out so you make sure that it fits the outer edges of the rims. The front axle will be added to the frame assembly next, and then the steering assembly, which is painted gloss black, and they're attached to the front axle and the frame. Then the shocks I painted black as well and installed those. The transmission frame rail gets painted gloss black and installed into the frame assembly at this time. Next, we'll work with the rear tire and wheel assemblies, and there's inner and outer wheels. Of course, the inners are black, but there's also an internal spacer there between the dually tires here. So make sure that you glue those together solidly. Then you can go ahead and paint the outer rims that purple color or your whatever color you choose, and then go ahead and install the tires onto the rims. And next we'll work with the rear axle, or the forward axle, I'm sorry, in the front. So it's the forward rear axle and the after axle also. They get assembled and painted gloss black. Now the aft rear axle suspension and the forward rear axle suspension pieces are painted gloss black and then installed into the frame assembly along with the rear axle assemblies. The rear shocks I painted gloss black as well, and they get installed onto the frame. So here you see a close-up of the assembled units in the rear of the frame, and they're pretty intricate, but you can also refer to those instructions at the back if you need clarification for location. Next, the drive shaft gets painted black and then installed between the transmission and the forward rear axle, and then the backing plates are added to the axles, and those are painted gloss black too. And next we'll add some of the back end parts. The fifth wheel plate assembly gets painted gloss black, and then it gets installed, and the rear cross member and mud flaps are painted gloss black and detailed with some flat black, of course, before being attached to the frame at the back end. The tail lights then are attached to the rear cross member, and part number 43 is gloss black and attached to the frame as well. So here you see the fifth wheel plate there in the center between the axles, and of course the mud flaps at the back end of the vehicle. Here are the parts for the battery box, and of course that'll get the gloss black treatment after it's assembled and then attached to the frame assembly. So here are the fuel tanks, and as you can expect, they come in halves, and there will be a longitudinal parting line. So your choice there is to try and clean that up the best you can and touch it up, or just refinish the entire thing by stripping off the chrome, assembling the halves, and then fixing the seam, and then re-chroming them. That's all up to you. Also, you'll need to paint the supports gloss black and attach those to the frame and then the tanks to that. Next up, not chromed but still in halves, are the air tanks, and you'll need to assemble those and add those to the fuel tank supports. Next, we'll work with the step pad and its frame support there, and the support gets painted gloss black and installed onto the frame, and then the step pad, which is chrome, gets attached to the driver's side fuel tank. We've got another tank halve pair here, so we're going to assemble those, clean up the seam as best we can, and paint that chrome. And we've got some mounting brackets there that'll be painted gloss black, and then install the whole unit to the frame just in front of the right side fuel tank. Next, we'll be working with a group of parts, including the exhaust, and the left and right are then, the system get installed to the frame along with the upper radiator hoses, but those are flat black. You got some engine parts, a shifter pedestal and a shifter. They get painted gloss red. And then the left and right exhaust manifolds are painted with chrome, and the exhaust supports are gloss black. Now, the airline plate gets attached to the frame, and the airline post is attached to the airline plate. Use some slow setting glue on the exhaust stacks and make sure that they're all vertical from all directions to give it a correct appearance. Next, we'll work with these parts, the interior floor and the lift cylinders. Now, the cylinders, number 174, are supposed to be installed but I recommend you wait until it's time to install the interior, due to the other half of the lift cylinders being difficult to install once the main part's on the frame. Now paint the lift cylinders gloss black and include the other half, number 175, and then once the paint is dry on those halves, install 175 into 174, and then snap those 174 parts onto the frame assembly for both sides. The bottom of the interior is painted gloss black after the frame rails are attached. Now, the top of the interior gets spray painted. I used a Krylon shortcuts paint called Iris Purple for a contrast. Now the interior can be installed to the frame with the pegs and also to the lift cylinders. Now we'll work with the driver's seat's base, the passenger seat base, and the steering column. And they get painted gloss black. The clutch, gas pedal, brake pedal, and the column post then are painted semi-gloss black. The driver's seat and the passenger seat now are sprayed with the iris purple color, and the steering wheel gets painted gloss white. The interior parts are now assembled onto the interior plate, and part number 120, which is chrome, is attached to the interior plate now too. Now we get to work on the body and go ahead and clean up the parting line. You'll find that around the ridges there, and it's really light, so it's easy to clean up with some light sandpaper sticks. So we're going ahead and give that a light spray of gray primer, and once that's dried, give the body a couple of light coats of your color coat. Now, I wanted to match the box art, so the best match I found was a Do It Best hardware color called Fast Dry Premium Enamel in Gloss Lime Green. Then, once that had dried, I detailed the window frames with some semi-gloss black, and then the decals get applied to the body and then spray painted with some wet look clear lacquer. The windows are installed now with clear part cement, and once that was done, after the clear coat had dried, we're taking on the look of a nice tractor. I've used a variety of colors for the interior. The outside part of the interior shell, I used the lime green to paint that. Then the interior side is painted with some of that acrylic gloss purple we used for the wheels. Then I also used a little Tester's Sublime Green for accent. Now, the bed got painted gloss purple and Tester's Green, and the sleeper wall gets painted gloss purple with some Sublime Green accent as well. The sleeper wall and the bed then are installed into the interior shell. And the window cranks and door handles are added. And remember to move the window crank down and to the back on the driver's side so it will clear the steering wheel. Now the dashboard is painted semi-gloss black with some wood detailing and some chrome for appointments, and the interior shell gets attached to the floor of the interior and the dashboard's installed. Then look for your glue points and contact points and glue the interior up into the cab. Now we can work on some exterior parts again for the cab. The headlight bezels get installed into the cab. Remember to scrape that chrome and paint, where they contact. And then the headlight lenses get glued into the bezels with some clear part cement or some white glue. Now the wipers, the door handles, the hand grips, the front hood grips, and both air horns get attached to the body, and the cab lights are detailed with some transparent orange paint before they're attached to the cab. And then the turn signals are attached to the cab too. Now the door mirrors get assembled, and they're installed on both sides of the cab, and then the passenger trim and steps are detailed with a little of that gloss purple acrylic, and it gets attached to the cab assembly. Now the driver's side trim and step are detailed with the same and attached as well. The front grille gets detailed with some gloss purple acrylic before it's attached to the cab assembly. Now it's time to install the lower section of the front grille onto the chassis, and then the front bumper gets attached to the chassis as well. The license plate bracket is painted gloss black and then attached to the front bumper. So now we're going to add the grab bars, and these parts are small, and they're kind of easy to overlook because they almost look like they're just parts of the sprue. But don't forget to take these into account. So I painted them with some chrome paint, and then I added them to the cab assembly. Well, there you have it. Your model is complete. And with this twist of the lime green paint and the rat Fink iconic graphics, it's a real nice twist on the old venerable International Harvester 4070A. Now, with a little patience and a perseverance with small parts, it goes together fairly well. It is an old mold design. You will find push marks from the ejector pins. You'll find some slight flash. You're going to run into the normal things that an old kit would present. But it does have a couple of extra features that they don't, and namely the piston-activated tilt cab. Now, and those posable front wheels. So if you want something that's a little different for your semi-tractor cab display shelf, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf if I were you.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you.